In lesson 26, we're going to be talking about another complex data structure. This one is an object. An object is a collection of different properties that represent something complex that you want to represent. This could be something like a person. Okay, person has color of hair, color of eyes, age, sex, weight, that sort of thing. Lots of different properties that make up a person. Or a vehicle. You could have make, model, year, color, wheelbase, fuel efficiency, lots of different things you could do to represent a vehicle. Or could be just a box that has height, width, and length. You decide what you want to put in there. These are useful for addressing all of those attributes in one data type, one variable, one element, as it were. Consider this when you're passing information from one function to another, which we'll do in a little bit. We want to pass a lot of information in, we want to pass a lot of information out. So rather than getting just a single string, integer, or Boolean, we could get a whole person information. Or as you've seen, we could get a whole glide record, a whole record of material with all those fields and properties and some attached functionality, some methods to go with that. That's all possible with an object. Could even be used for passing complex information between two different systems. When I go out to finance.yahoo.com and say, what's the ServiceNow stock price? It returns to me the stock ticker symbol, the high, the low, the running 52-week average, whatever it is, that I can get all of that in one payload and represent that as one entity, one object for that ticker symbol. Let's take a look at a code example. So over here I have var box equals curly braces. Now this could alternately be represented as var box equals new object. There are different ways to represent this. So as with arrays, you'll see this more commonly. Just recognize that it's in effect a container, a vessel that we can put our other object functionality and properties into. They both do the same thing, but I believe that the curly brace is more standard these days. So I address those properties as a couple of different ways. One is dotted notation, where I say the box height is 20, the box width is 10, the box length is also 10, the material is cardboard, whether it's open or closed. I can make these up as I go and then access them with that same dotted notation. So keep that in mind as one way of addressing this. And when I copy and paste that into Script's background, just to show that it does work, I should see the box material is cardboard. And of course I do. So I don't need separate variables, but it looks like I'm not gaining any efficiency by doing this. However, when I get to functions or integrations, I can pass all this information just by addressing that box object. Very nice. It's all in one variable. Another way to do this is, instead of the dot notation, is what we call the square bracket notation. Here I've got a vehicle object. So I make my variable vehicle. This is an object. And then individually I'm setting the year as denoted inside the square brackets. So why is this different and why is it advantageous? Well, consider using variables. You may get a series of field names, or say, hey, user, select which field names you want to use. And then I can go into my object and address the values of those variable fields this way with the square bracket. So rather than a literal quote, year quote, I could say, click which field you want to export. You say, I want the year. Great, I'll do that. And I can address that through a variable. As I did before with the field name in an earlier video, I can say the field name was a sysid, and now I can use the variable sysid. The same way I populate this to this, and in this case, I can also output them. Now I could, let's first run this one to show you that it's functionally the same. Year plus vehicle make plus vehicle model is going to say 2018 Toyota Sienna. But I could, just because I put them in with bracket notation, I can also address them with dotted notation. So maybe I'm just doing this as a debug statement and I say year. I can mix and match these any way I want. I could have said year here with the square bracket notation. They are functionally the same as if I said vehicle.year up here. and run that. So, I have a typo somewhere. Where is it? Vehicle dot square bracket year. You probably saw me type that. Apologies. So Toyota Sienna works the same way. So whether you choose one over the other is up to you. And in some cases, if you want to use it in perhaps a looping construct, or you have an array of fields that you want to pull out, or an array of properties that you want to pull out of this object, these are referred to as the object properties. So get used to that term. The property is year, the make is a property, the property is modeled, you get the idea. So address them that way. You can also include functions into your object, and you'll see this in many of the glide record methods. When we did that earlier exercise and I said use set limit or use get display value, those are functions that are part of that object, and we can consistently use those to get or set or interact with that object's information in a direct way, rather than perhaps a dotted notation that would give you an entire other object. So you can see these can be objects within objects. Let me show you the third example, and that is initializing and setting it at the same time. I've got var vehicle equals, but rather than empty brackets, I can just denote the properties and their values in line with that declaration. Note that the proper format is to use double quotes. You may see at certain times some people don't use double quotes. Some people don't even use single quotes. Some people use no quotes. Some JavaScript compilers will take that and some won't. To be perfectly safe and to maximize your risk of importing or exporting, this is particularly true when you're dealing with this interaction with other systems, that you have the double quotes on there. This type of declaration is called JavaScript Object Notation, or JSON. So my JSON is the year, the make, the model, this value pair, name value pair combination, where I'm using the year as my name and the 2018 as the value. That is in JavaScript Object Notation, or JSON format. So I can denote this in a textual format, but it's represented in the system as an object. And just to show you that it is functionally the same, we will post that one and run it, and I get the exact same output. So those are the basics of objects. Let's dive in a little deeper in the next video. Hope to see you there.